Hi, in this video we're going to be doing section 3.3, which is about more on equations. So more equations. Alright, so we're just going to be taking a look at some more complicated equations than 3.2. And I'll just be doing a few examples to make sure you're solid on everything you need for doing your homework and the quizzes. Okay, so example. The instructions are solve. Instructions are solve. Okay, and for example number 1, we're actually going to be solving the equation 2 times the quantity 4c minus 1. So 2 times parentheses 4c minus 1 minus 4 equals 4c plus 6. Okay? 2 times the quantity 4c minus 1 minus 4 equals 4c plus 6. So there's a lot of stuff that you should already know here from the previous section. So make sure you watch that video before you try to do these ones. So remember in the previous section I said that the first thing you want to do is distribute. Okay, and that's still the case here. So you want to distribute and combine like terms first. Okay, so first you distribute, then you combine like terms, then you isolate the variable. So for this problem, we're going to go ahead and distribute the 2 to the 4c minus 1. Okay, so 2 times 4c is going to give us 8c, and then 2 times negative 1 gives us negative 2. So we have 8c minus 2 minus 4 equals 4c plus 6. Okay, so we just completed the distribute part, and the next step is to combine like terms. Okay, so what are the like terms that we have here? Well, on the left side we have negative 2 and negative 4. Those are like terms. Because they both have no variable. And there's no other like terms here, because on the right side, the first term has a c and the second term doesn't have a c. So there's no other like terms to combine here. So all we can combine is negative 2 minus 4, and because they're the same sign, we keep the sign and add. So that's going to be 2 plus 4 is 6. But keeping the sign, it's actually going to give us negative 6. Negative 6. Okay, so we have 8c minus 6 equals 4c plus 6. Okay? And then from here, we actually have to pick a side and isolate the variable. So the problem with this equation right now is we actually have the variable c on both sides. But we're going to have to get rid of it on one side or another. And I recommend for most of you that you get rid of whatever coefficient is smaller. So here I would recommend that you get rid of the 4c because 4 is a smaller coefficient than 8c. So how do you get rid of positive 4c? Well, what's the opposite of adding 4c? Subtracting 4c. So we're going to subtract 4c from both sides. So we minus 4c from both sides. And notice I line up the c's so that it makes it easy to do the subtraction. So on the left side, we have 8 minus 4 is 4c. So we're going to have 4c minus 6 on the left side. And then on the right side, the 4c and the negative 4c cancel out. So we just get 0 plus 6. So that just gives us 6. Okay? So whenever you have a variable on both sides, you need to get rid of one of the variables. So this time we got rid of the 4c because I usually recommend that you get rid of whatever coefficient is smaller. Okay, but now that we've gotten the variable on one side, now it's clear that we want to isolate the c on the left side. So how are we going to do that? Well, you want to do your addition and subtraction before your multiplication and division when you're isolating a variable. Okay, so here, how do we get rid of the minus 6? Well, what's the opposite of subtracting 6? Adding 6. So we're going to add 6 to both sides, and that'll get rid of the negative 6 on the left side. Okay, so when we add 6 to both sides, what are we going to get here? On the left side, the negative 6 and the positive 6 cancel, and we just get 4c. And then on the right side, 6 plus 6 is actually 12. So we should have 4c equals 12. Okay, and then keep in mind that 4c means 4 times c. So to get rid of the 4 there, what's the opposite of multiplying by 4? Dividing by 4. So we're going to have to divide both sides by 4 in order to get rid of the 4 on the left side. So we divide both sides by 4, and the 4's cancel out on the left side. So on the left side, we actually just get c. And then on the right side, we have 12 divided by 4. Well, remember that 4 times 3 is 12, so 12 divided by 4 should be 3. So our answer is c equals 3. And as you can see, this equation took us longer than the previous section, but it's all stuff that we've learned before. So the thing about this section is that it has a lot of steps, so it's more complicated, but you're going to find that it's the stuff that we learned in the previous section, just more steps involved. Okay, so that's going to be our example number 1 for this section. And now we're going to go ahead and go on to example number 2. Example number 2. So example number 2 has a couple of new tricks in there that you may or may not know how to do. So it's going to be negative 20 minus negative 4 equals x divided by 10. Okay, so negative 20 minus negative 4 equals x divided by 10. All right, so what did I say you're supposed to do first? What's that? Distribute and combine like terms. Well, here there's nothing to distribute, but we can combine like terms. So on the left side, what happens when you have two minuses multiplied together? Well, they make a plus. So this minus negative 4 is actually going to simplify to plus 4 on the left side. So we have negative 20 plus 4 equals x over 10. Okay, and then combining like terms, what is negative 20 plus 4? Well, these are opposite signs, so we keep the sign of the larger number and we subtract. So we do 20 minus 4 is 16, but the larger number was negative, so that's actually going to give us negative 16. So we have negative 16 equals x over 10. Okay, and then to finish isolating x, what do we do next? Well, on the right side, we're dividing by 10, and we have to do the reverse operation. So what's the opposite of dividing by 10? Multiplying by 10. So we multiply both sides of the equation by 10 to isolate x. So I'm just going to put parentheses around both sides, and then I'm going to multiply both sides by 10. So on the right side, the 10s cancel out. There's one on the top and one on the bottom. On the left side, we have 10 times negative 16. And 10 times negative 16 is just going to, the 10 is just going to add another 0. So it's just going to give us negative 160. Okay, so we have negative 160 equals x. Or on MyMathLab, they would write it in the reverse order, so they would write it as x equals negative 160, but that means the same thing. Okay. All right, so that is example number 2. It's a bit shorter, but it had a couple of tricks in there. And the next thing I wanted to do was just another problem with lots of steps, just to make sure we've seen enough examples. Okay, so example number 3. This is kind of a big equation. So this is, actually I'm going to give myself some more room here. This is going to take a while for me to write it down. So we have negative 10 times the quantity x plus 4, okay, plus 44 equals negative 18 minus 18. Okay, so negative 10 times the quantity x plus 4 plus 44 equals negative 18 minus 18. So really just a lot of stuff going on here. But don't get overwhelmed. Just follow the steps that I told you about. So what do we always do first? Your first step is to distribute. Okay, so you distribute first. All right, so we're going to do that first. So here on the left side, we can distribute the negative 10. So we distribute the negative 10 to the x plus 4. Okay, so on the left side, we're going to have negative 10x. And then negative 10 times positive 4 is going to give us negative 40. Notice that I'm distributing the minus as well as the number. That's really important. So we get negative 10x minus 40. And then the rest of it just stays the same. So we still have a plus 44. And then on the right side, we have negative 18 minus 18. Okay, so what do we do next? Well, like I said in the previous section, first you distribute, then you combine like terms. So your second step is to combine like terms. Okay, so what are the like terms here? Well, on the left side we have negative 40 plus 44. Those both don't have variables, so we can combine those. And then on the right side we have negative 18 minus 18. But we can't combine the negative 10x with anything because it has an x, and nothing else has an x. So combining on the left side, we have negative 40 plus 44. They're opposite signs. So we keep the sign of the larger number and we subtract. So it's going to be 44 minus 40 is 4. But the larger number was positive, so it's going to be positive 4. Okay, so on the left side, we actually have a positive 4. So we have negative 10x plus 4 equals, well, on the right side, here we have two numbers. They're the same sign, so we keep the sign and add. So it's going to be negative, and then 18 plus 18 actually ends up being 36. So it's going to be negative 36. But remember, if you can't do that in your head and you don't want to use a calculator, you can always write it vertically like this over here. So you can write 18 plus 18. And then 8 plus 8 is 16. Carry the 1. 1 plus 1 is 2, plus 1 is 3. So you get 36. But then notice, because they were both negative, we had to keep the sign, which is negative 36. Okay, so now we've distributed, we've combined like terms. What's the last step? Well, the last step is just isolate the variable. So that's step 3. Isolate the variable. Okay, so how do we isolate this variable x? Well, we're going to have to perform operations to both sides until we have x by itself. So In particular, you want to do your addition and subtraction before your multiplication and division when you're solving an equation. So first we want to actually get rid of the positive 4 on the left side. So how do we do that? Well, what's the opposite of adding 4? Subtracting 4. So we're going to subtract 4 from both sides. So if we minus 4 from both sides, on the left side, the 4 and the negative 4 cancel. So we just get negative 10x. Okay, and then on the right side, combining negative 36 and negative 4, they're the same sign, so we keep the sign and add. So 36 plus 4 is 40, so that's going to give us negative 40. So we have negative 10x equals negative 40. All right, and then we need to isolate x. So how do we isolate x here? Well, to get rid of the negative 10, this is negative 10 times x. We have to do the opposite of multiplying, which is dividing. So we divide both sides by negative 10. Okay, and you have to divide by both the negative and the 10 so that everything cancels out on the left side. So on the left side, the minuses and the 10s cancel and we just get x. And then on the right side, remember if you're multiplying or dividing and you have two minuses, they cancel out. So I can cross out those two minuses and those become a plus. Okay. So, and then we get positive 40 divided by 10. Well, 40 divided by 10 is actually 4, since 10 times 4 is 40. Okay, so for our answer, we should actually have 40 divided by 10 is 4. So our answer is x equals 4. All right.